Hello everyone! We are talking today to John and Natalea Wallz with Best Choice Inspections. That is right, we're talking home inspections today, and I'm so excited to talk with them because as a real estate agent, obviously I deal a lot with home inspections, so I'm so glad to have you guys here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes! So we're going to do some rapid fire questions real fast just so we can get to know John and Natalea a little bit. Where are you guys from?
I'm from all over the place.
West Tennessee.
Oh, like Memphis?
Yeah.
Oh, I used to teach in Memphis.
No,
Did you know that?
I didn't.
Where are you from? West Tennessee too or no?
I lived in Memphis for about 10 years,
Oh.
but I've lived all over the place. California, Utah, Idaho, Texas,
Oh.
Italy.
Italy? Do you speak
Louisiana.
Italian?
I do speak Italian fluently.
Okay, I'm going to have to talk to you later about how to get to Italy without... Anyways, I'm looking at flights to Florence right now. It's a whole thing. Anyways,
We've been
okay.
here 16 years.
Okay.
So
yeah, so...
we're not from here, but we've been here for a while.
She's like, we've been around the block.
A little.
Are you a volunteer, like Tennessee Volunteer fan? It's okay to say no.
I'm not super into sports balls. Like, I'll cheer for anybody.
Yes.
I love to spectate any sport.
Yes. It's okay.
But I'm not.
No, I graduated from the University of Memphis, so I'm a Memphis
Ah,
fan.
got it.
But
okay.
that does not exclude Tennessee.
Right.
I do
Yes.
like Tennessee
I
as
like
well.
it. Okay, cool. Would you prefer to read books or watch TV? John?
Right now I prefer to watch TV just because I have so much to do. I did prefer to read books at one time, but now I just don't have
Anything
time.
special you're currently watching?
We are watching The Mentalist.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, we're watching that one right now.
That one you can't, like, when I watch that, I can't sleep. Well, I'm, like, thinking in my sleep about
We have
what's
to
happening.
cleanse our palates with Young Sheldon or Big Bang Theory afterwards.
And just, like, release it.
Or-
That's a good idea.
We're rewatching Big Bang Theory right now, and we're watching Young Sheldon for the first time.
Yeah.
And then we're also watching House again.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
We're rewatching that.
We also have to
It's
cleanse
really
our
good.
That's
palates
another,
with
like,
Young Sheldon
yeah,
after that,
okay.
too. It's intense.
Books or TV?
I used to be books, but now we've got a business and 3
Yeah, I
small
know.
kids.
You want to
So,
just kind of just...
TV.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that. Okay, professional sports, college sports, or neither?
I like college sports, but I'll spectate anything.
If it's on, I'll watch it.
Oh, yeah.
No, I prefer college sports more because with professional sports, I'm more of a player fan.
Oh,
and I don't
yeah,
have
yeah,
enough
yeah,
time
yeah.
to
okay.
like. So like Peyton
Get
Manning
invested.
used to be like my
Yeah.
favorite player, but then he
Right.
retired. My very first player was Bo Jackson. I loved Bo Jackson on the
Bo
Raiders.
knows.
That was awesome. But Steve Young and Jerry Rice
Yeah.
and all the guys
All
from the
those guys,
49ers,
yeah.
that I had so much fun watching them for a long time. But I just don't have enough time to follow
I know,
professional
it's
sports
a lot.
anymore and get to know any of the players. So now it's more just college
Yeah,
sports.
I got you.
He does have a Peyton Manning jersey from Tennessee
Oh.
that I got him for our anniversary in the
Nice.
basement downstairs.
I love
in a
that.
frame, so.
I don't have one of those. I'd love to, although my husband hates them. That's a whole other story. Anyways, like he's like a college guy, but as soon as they hit professional, he's like, no, team all the way, team. Anyways,
Professional is definitely not team.
yeah. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Oh, black or like with creamer and stuff.
Oh, like lots of sugar.
I like my sugar with coffee and cream.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Beach.
What mountains? Like Great Smoky Mountains or just any mountains?
Any mountains, yeah.
Yeah. Any specific beaches?
I love the northern Florida beaches.
Okay.
Like in the Gulf.
Yeah.
Those are probably my favorites.
Ooh, nice. Peyton or Dolly?
Oh, Dolly.
Okay, are you gonna say Peyton? Everyone says Peyton to that question. I'm like, but I love Dolly too. I mean, you're not
I've got a
negating Dolly, but yeah.
license plate. I love
Oh,
Dolly.
she's all in with Dolly.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. So now let's talk about business. Best Choice Inspections. How did you get involved in home inspections? Like, how did we get here, basically?
So I've been in and out of construction kind of my whole life. Done some general contractor type of, or just general construction type of work, marble installation at one point, things like that. My dad was an electrician, so I learned a lot about electrical from him.
Yeah.
When we bought our house, 15 years ago. Our home inspector was nice enough to kind of guide me through the inspection in the house and got me kind of interested in that as a possible career path. So I ended up taking the test and doing everything and met the former owner of Best Choice Inspections, who taught me even more, even though I'd gone through everything, had my license, but realized how much I didn't know when I started working with him. So that was kind of a blessing in disguise, because starting a home inspection business is rough because it's all about contacts, and establishing those contacts can be hard. And that allowed me to come into a business that was already established with some contacts, learn a lot, grow with it, and then we bought the business in April of this year. So now
it's yours.
We're all in and just gung ho. So
that's awesome. So April 2023, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. We just.
So I guess last year.
At the time of this, it's January 2024, and it feels like 23. Okay, so then that's when you came on, or you've actually been working with Best Choice for a while, right?
In 2020, I started working with Best Choice. I was working for a chiropractor who's a good friend of mine, but she couldn't have anybody extra in the office. And
2020 COVID, have you heard of it? Anyways.
And that happened, but everybody, since they were in their house so much, they wanted a better place to be in there all the time. So they were really busy, so it was really good for me to be able to learn the business. It's been the plan for John to buy the business from Gene when he retired. So it wasn't a fast or an unpleasant situation. Jane still works in the office for us. And so it's been, I guess, close to 3 years now that I've been.
That's cool.
That 3.5 years that I've been working with Best Choice. So I still have the same phone number from when I started there. I still carry 2 phones, but
it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
She's like you're the most responsive person ever of all time. I'm like, oh my gosh, how does she see this that fast? Okay, 11 years into home inspection, like what's the biggest, most common thing that you see?
Grading issues are one of the number one things, where you've got a slope toward the house instead of away from the house, or pooling areas around the house, and then or loose toilets, little stuff like that. We see a lot, but one of the bigger issues that we find a lot in East Tennessee is crawl space issues. Humidity, moisture, or ventilation issues. That comes up a lot.
Yes. For someone that is relocating to the East Tennessee area specifically, something has like a crawl space issue. What's a normal thing to find in a crawl space versus like this is complete disaster?
A crawl space can come in a lot of forms, but a typical crawl space, a vented crawl space, has vents to the outside of the house that's intended to move air through the crawl space, get rid of humidity, that type of thing. You should have a nice moisture barrier on the ground, a plastic sheeting over the dirt, so there's no exposed dirt. You should have insulation in the floor system so that it's keeping the humidity, if it's present in the crawl space, away from the wood, right? So it protects the wood. On top of that, it helps prevent air passing from the crawl space into the house, and also protects the wood, helps with HVAC costs, bringing the HVAC costs down, so you're not losing heat or gaining heat from the crawl space. But a sealed crawl space, so if you have a sealed crawl space, what you want to see is a nice thick plastic barrier down that's sealed to the walls and sealed to the piers. The piers are the vertical supports in the middle of the crawl space. And then you also want a dehumidifier, everything sealed up nicely so you're not getting outside air in, and the dehumidifier keeping the humidity below 55%. So that's kind of both ends of the spectrum.
Would you say that really, like a bad sign or something you don't want to necessarily see is moisture, like on the ground? Would you say for the most part, like if you're seeing moisture, like maybe there's an issue, like you know what I mean? Like what's a telltale for somebody that's like, is this good or bad? I don't know, you know? So
the reason why we call out grading issues so often, and we make a big deal out of it, is because any slope toward the house or pooling near the house, especially in a crawl space house, can allow moisture to push through the crawl space wall into the crawl space, adding humidity, making it harder to keep the humidity down. And that's your number one issue, is humidity and moisture in a crawl space. So if you do have standing water, moisture on the crawl space walls, all that adds moisture, and over time can cause mold growth. Enough mold growth can actually start to deteriorate the wood through brown rot, because the mold is actually using the wood as a food source.
To eat or whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's eating it, and so it's actually consuming the fibers, and over time that can cause the structural integrity of the wood to...
What's the overall process, start to finish, of like a home inspection? Like, what should somebody expect when you get that report? Like, from scheduling to inspection to I got this report, now what do I, like, what's the process for that?
So they call us or they text us. They'll usually get me or they'll get Jane on the phone, and we'll find a time that works. Most people have a 10 to 14 day window. Sometimes it's shorter. We have 2 master inspectors. We also have an apprentice who is a licensed inspector. He's just still training.
I've not met him yet.
You haven't met Shane yet?
Nope.
You'll like Shane. He's great.
I'm excited.
We've known Shane for a long time, and so we encouraged him when we bought the business. We're like, why don't you get your license so we can train you?
Yeah.
So they call us or they text us. We find a time that works. We make sure that time works for the listing agent and for the sellers. We find out what services they need. So some people don't want a termite letter. I can't imagine why. It's a very inexpensive way to protect yourself. People moving from out of town don't necessarily know about radon, that it was not an issue in West Tennessee and East Tennessee. It is a big issue, especially over a long period of time. If you're going to live there for a long time, you need to have that checked. Sewer scope, termite letter. We can do indoor air quality testing. We can do water samples. We can do well testing, that kind of stuff. So we set all of that up. We write all the notes for our inspector. We look at the type of the properties, or to make sure that we know what the inspector is going to go into. We find out who's going to be at the inspection. We remind the clients that as much as we're happy for you to be there, please don't ask the inspector for a piggyback ride. Don't use their tools. Don't use their ladder. And be safe.
Do people do that?
Well, no. But that's a
You're
funny
just
way
saying,
to say
leave it alone. Yeah, okay.
Don't stay off their back.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Don't follow them around because it's distracting instead of helpful.
Right.
And one of the things that we've noticed over the 11 years that we've been doing this, and 20 years the former owner was doing this, that the callbacks that we get of people saying you missed something, you missed this, it's typically related to somebody was distracting the inspector during the inspection. Because when you get it requires so much mental focus during an inspection to make sure you don't miss anything, that if you're being distracted, it's really easy to go back and be like, what was I inspecting, what was I doing,
right?
And then you have the possibility of missing.
Right. Yeah.
So the inspector's on site. We have a super key or a combo to get in, so it's usually just the inspector there, at least at first. When they're done, we'll either do a phone call to let them know if there was a questionable situation. Do you want us to test this microbial growth that we found? There's a smell. Do you want us to figure that out? If there's anything that they might want to add on, let them know about anything really exciting. Hopefully before the inspection, they've followed my email and they've signed their agreement and they've already paid for the inspection. So that evening, the inspector goes through and just make sure that all the voice to text work properly. They've got all their comments on the pictures, and then they send that off to the clients usually the very next morning. They look at it with their realtor, and then at that point the inspector can go through their questions. Once they've looked at the report, they've talked to their realtor about it, because there's a lot that the realtor can bring to the inspection process as well, which is one thing that we like about you so much. Usually your clients, once they've had their report and they've talked to you, they're good. But we do offer that consultation call, which is really important for people moving from out of town.
Right.
To get clarification on things.
Right. Of like, when somebody gets this report, what do you feel like is the best mindset to go into as you're reading over that report?
One thing I tell people is it's going to be a long report. You have a master inspector going to do an inspection. This is what he does all day, every day. He's going to give you all of the information about your house because this is serious. This is where your family sleeps. We want you to have all of the information to make the best decision that you can. but everything is fixable. And I've got a fantastic referral list of local professionals that I trust to show up and to do a good job, that are licensed and responsible. So we can get those quotes for you pretty quickly. We don't do any repair work of any kind, so you know that we don't have a bias, but I do have that referral list. And it's hard to find a house right now. It's hard to find a house with half of the things that you think you want. So we want you to buy this house.
Right.
We just want you to buy this house and have all the information to take care of it.
Yeah.
So one thing that a lot of people don't realize, and us doing this day in and day out and seeing so many different houses and so many different inspections, there's some of the things that we're used to, right? We're used to seeing, loose toilets and outlets are loose in the wall, and even miswired outlets or this, that, and the other.
Toilet vents venting into the attic. If I see that one more time.
Low insulation levels. There's so many things that we see on just about every house we inspect. And so we know what the normal issues are. So when we look at the report, those things don't even register with us. But when a new person is looking at this thing, they've only seen maybe one other inspection report in their life. They see 30 to 40 items on the report. They're like, oh my gosh, this house is terrible, right? Well, I want to let everybody know 30 to 40 items is a typical report. That is not a lot of findings. If you get up into 50 to 60 items, now you've got an extensive report. So and some inspectors, I know there are some inspection companies who don't put the little things in there to make it seem, to make the buyer feel better, to take those things out that aren't as important, but we like to make sure they have all the information.
Well, that's like super subjective. So it's like, how would
and
you?
we prioritize the report too. So like the actual safety issues are going to be right there on the top. You know that what's going on. There's the summary, then there's the high priority, low priority, and so you get all of the information. You're about to spend $1 million on a house. You deserve all of the information about it.
Yeah, we provide 2 reports, a full report that just gives you all the information, and then a second summary only report. And when I talk to people, I like to tell them, the second priority items, the monitor and maintain items that you see in the summary report, those are the more typical things that aren't as pressing. They're not as concerning. Focus on the first priority. And so the first priority is going to have 10 to 15 items in it. And that will cut down the amount that you have to really think about and worry about if you focus on that first priority. So that's important.
The HomeGauge software that we use also has a little button for realtors and for clients where they can make a repair list.
Love it. It's my favorite feature.
And even
truly is my favorite feature.
If you're even not going to ask for repairs, that's such a fantastic tool to have to make preparations to take care of your house.
Right.
So even if you don't want the sellers to do anything, or you're buying it as is, or whatever the case may be, that repair list is a really good roadmap for things that you're going to eventually need to do. Even if it's not a high priority item now, you've got a guide, so it's a $500 issue, not a $5,000 issue.
So investor client looking at homes where the electricity is turned off, however, is wanting home inspection completed. So if the electricity is turned off and it is not going to be turned back on, what things are going to be missed? Or what cannot be, like obviously the water heater is not going to work. You know what I'm saying? So for someone looking at like investment type properties thinking, yes, I want to do a home inspection, but the power's off, like what's going to be missed?
Okay. So like electrical specifically, we're going to be able to look at the visible areas, and we do take off the panel cover so we can look at the wiring inside the panel to make sure everything's installed properly, see if we see any signs of high heat, arcing, melting, things like that, to make sure everything's safe. But we're not going to be able to go through and look at every outlet in the house and make sure it's wired properly. We're not going to be able to test the water heater, like you said. If the HVAC is electrical, which the AC always is, we're not going to be able to test that. We're not going to be able to look at the appliances and test those to make sure they're functioning properly in the kitchen. So there is quite a bit. The lights, you can't turn them on and off. Make sure the switches are wired properly. Make sure that the lights are functioning, the light fixtures. The visible aspect of it, we'll be able to look at all of that stuff, but we won't be able to test it.
Yeah.
So you will have a kind of a big missing element to the inspection.
Yeah.
We do a slightly limited inspection for investors, for people that know they're going to either flip the house or that they're going to rent it out or something. If they know there's a lot of work to be done, we call it a major systems inspection, where we just check the electrical, the HVAC, the plumbing, the roof covering, and the structure of the house. So like the biggest high dollar problems are going to be in those areas. Now without the electric, we could even adjust that, because we're not going to be able to check a lot of the HVAC and the so we would even discount, because it's going to save us some time on the report writing side and the inspection time. But that more limited inspection is really good for investors that might not necessarily want all the windows open and closed if they know they're going to be replacing those.
The refrigerator temperature. What is radon? What is a radon test?
So radon is a radioactive gas that comes from deep within the earth, and it's trying to get up into the atmosphere. It's lighter than air, right? And there are certain parts of the country, the north, the East Tennessee, the mountainous areas in the western part of the U.S. It's found a lot in high rock areas, so that's why mountains are typically higher potential for radon.
The radioactive gas is released when the rocks, certain kinds of rocks, break down. So that's why we have so much here from mountains.
So that radon gas is trying to get up in the atmosphere, like we said, and it is radioactive. So breathing it over a long period of time, they typically suggest maybe 5 years of exposure to high radon can cause medical issues such as lung cancer, and actually is the second leading cause of lung cancer in the U.S. But the issue is, we build our houses to cool and heat them because we want to stay a very specific temperature all the time. So our houses are built very tight so that air can't escape. So if you have a house that is sealed up, like not a crawl space, but a slab house or a basement house that has maybe little cracks in the foundation where radon can get in as it's trying to come up through the ground, especially if you're close to water, because radon goes around water. So if you're large body water near your house, you're going to have higher exposure to radon. Once it gets into your house, has a hard time getting out because we build them so tight, and so it can build up and create those radioactive gas issues.
So a radon test is to see what rate, is it CPI, whatever?
It's
I don't know what the unit is.
Units per liter.
Okay.
Yeah,
but basically it's seeing how much radon, I guess, is in your house against the EPA recommended level.
So EPA.gov/radon is where you go to read about radon, and the EPA requires a 48-hour monitoring, or 48 hours or more, and so every hour it'll test the radon levels, and then we take that average. If you're really close to a body of water, if you have a lake house, you're more likely to have higher radon.
I didn't know that about the water. I didn't know that.
We find really high levels of radon, particularly in Loudon, Tellico Village, Louisville.
Is all along the water.
Yeah. That makes sense.
All of that. The North Shore area where there's a lot of water as well. But even in a neighborhood where you're really close to kind of the water drainage area, it's not necessarily even a ditch, but our neighbors that live next door to that had one of the highest readings we've ever seen. It was
What's the highest? Okay, I've seen an 18 before.
38, I think was theirs.
4 is the
yeah.
You're like, what are these numbers? 4.
And we usually get between at a 0.8 to 2 or something. Like, there's always some.
Right. Yeah, there'll always be radon.
There's always some radon, but and 4 is the legal limit here. A little higher in Canada, but they also test it differently there as well.
They use a different measurement.
But yeah, so if it's 4 or 3.5, you're fine. But when you get up into the 18, 19, and 20s, it's
and really, I mean, correct me, but when I think about home inspections, I think it's about being informed. Mm-hmm. So informed about like the decision you're making, or maybe not going to make as a result of what you find out, but then also like what do you do as a result of that. So for example, like Knox County, specifically new construction homes must be built with a radon stack. It's not a system, it's just there in place in case, oh, well, your radon is high here. You already have the internal structure to add a system to mitigate it. So it's the home inspection process to me is like how to be best informed.
Right.
And then how do you make a decision that you're comfortable with, to move forward or not, and then what to ask for or not. Okay, so anything on home inspections that you're like, I did not ask you, that I absolutely totally missed, should have asked you?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. I think the important thing is to remember that everything's fixable. So it's just how much it's gonna cost to fix it, right? So even major structural issues, which scare a lot of people, right, can be fixed. If you don't want to deal with it, that's one thing. But if you really want the house and the seller's willing to work with you, or you have enough equity in the house to be able to justify the repairs that need to be done, there are some ways to do that, to make the purchase more feasible and be able to make those repairs. So don't let even the big issues scare you, because everything is fixable.
Yeah. Well, and I would say also advocate for yourself. So if you get under contract on a house and there's an issue that you noticed, maybe something seemed off, like you can tell your home inspector that before, and they can specifically make sure not to miss that or whatever. When someone's trying to hire a home inspector, like what should they look for? Are there certain things that like this person should definitely have? Like what makes somebody a great qualified inspector?
We always check licensing. If I'm making a referral to somebody that's not in the Knoxville area, even if it's someone in Chattanooga that doesn't want to pay our mileage, because we'll go anywhere they'll pay our mileage in the state of Tennessee, but different states have different licensing. So I would find out what your state's licensing or your county's licensing requirements are. And then I always read reviews. I go straight to the most recent reviews. I want to know what their clients this month have to say about them. And then I want to know the lowest reviews and how they responded to those, because no one's perfect.
Right. What? Yeah.
But no one's perfect. So I want to read their response to those 1-star reviews and those 2-star reviews that everybody has.
Yeah, it happens.
There's situations, and sometimes personality, and you can see that. But I always want to know recent, lowest reviews. I want to know if they're licensed, and then I want to see what they're like online. So I Google them like I Google someone that I'm gonna let babysit.
So the other thing to do is check out any professional certifications they have. So there are a few professional organizations in the state of Tennessee. There's one specifically in the state of Tennessee. It's called HITA, Home Inspectors of Tennessee Association. There's a big one that's across the country. It's called NACHI, that kind of certifies and rates inspectors. There's another one called OSHI. So there's several different organizations. So even if you don't have a licensing program in your state, there's a way to go online and look up those certifications to make sure that they at least have something saying, yeah, this guy has done a lot of work to be a good inspector. And that's, like InterNACHI, like I'm required to do 32 hours of continuing education every 2 years per the state of Tennessee. And a state that doesn't have a licensing requirement, like Ohio, for instance, they don't have that requirement to go in there and do that continuing education. But if they're a member of InterNACHI actually has that requirement for their certified inspectors.
That's good to know.
So that's they have to stay up with their education and be informed on what's going on in the industry. So.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
I recommend getting suggestions from your realtor, because you guys.
Because most people are realtors mostly contacting you, or clients, or like a mix of both.
It's a mix of both.
Okay.
Yeah, some realtors stay completely out of the process. They'll offer some names and then they won't have anything else to do with us. It's hard to even get them on the phone. And then sometimes we hear from the realtors and they schedule everything, and they, especially for clients moving out of town, we hear a lot from those agents instead of the clients. But it's both. And sometimes you've had a bad experience with an inspector before. We're not all created exactly equal. There's, some people are better at their jobs than others. But just know that most of the home inspectors really do care about protecting you and protecting your investment that you're making in this property.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, we're going to take a hard turn. Tennessee, Knoxville in general, you guys, you've been all over, as we discussed earlier. What are your top 3 favorite things about the Knoxville area, East Tennessee?
I love that we get to have all of our seasons, sometimes in 1 week.
That is true. Specifically at the beginning of this video, this time last week it was like 4 degrees outside, and now it's like 50.
Yeah. It's beautiful here, and for the most part, the people in East Tennessee are very nice. I really enjoy people that are very different from me that I, might not normally, I feel like, seek out as a friend. I've had really great experiences with people here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, the beautiful aspect of it, you've got the mountains, short drive away. You've got rivers that you can, and lakes that you can enjoy. We're 5 hours from the beach. We're not very far from a lot of really big attractions nearby us. Atlanta is only 3 hours away. So it's a really nice area because you can have pretty much any activity that you want here, but you also have a lot of things close by.
Yeah. It's date night. Where are you going to eat? What's your favorite place to go to eat?
Vita Saigon.
Vita Saigon.
Where is that?
Downtown West.
It's downtown West. It's just a little place, but it's very authentic and it's very good.
Very good.
I really like Vita
Okay.
Saigon.
Where is it in relation to the movie theater?
Do you know where the
Across the street.
Oh,
right
yeah.
across the
Okay.
street.
Yeah.
Across
Got it.
downtown
Okay.
West.
Mm-hmm.
No, across Ramir's.
Got it. Okay.
From
Okay.
there.
Vita Saigon.
Yeah, Vita
okay.
Saigon is really good. It's we get a takeout occasionally as well. We really like Bravo. We had a really good time.
Yes.
We like to go to Melon Mushroom as a whole family.
Melon Mushroom.
We go. It's the one place that all 5 of
Everyone
us will
can be
eat.
happy.
All the kids will eat there.
Cumberland.
Yes.
When the college kids are out of school.
Yes.
It is.
Always.
You're not going on game day. I'm gonna tell you that.
No, thank you. Hard pass.
Yes.
I don't want to go near.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's fantastic, and the servers are happy to see us because they haven't seen anybody all day.
That's funny.
And the food's always really good there.
Yeah.
That location in Melon Mushroom is by far our favorite.
Yeah. Oh, I love Melon Mushroom. Okay. Best places to go with kiddos in the area.
Dollywood. We love going to Dollywood.
The kids all love the aquarium in Gatlinburg.
Yeah. Okay.
They
Yeah.
all love that. But there's just so many parks and things like that to go to around here that the kids love.
The Muse, the children's
The Muse is great. Yes.
And the Oak Ridge Science Museum is really
yes.
cool. The schools are really good. They get a bad rap, but a lot of the Knox County schools have really great programs. The Oak Ridge schools, they now have a pilot licensing program that if you start your freshman year with the, what are they called? The machines.
Like robotics or
simulators.
simulators.
The simulators.
Yeah.
If you start the simulator your freshman year, you can graduate with your pilot's license. And there's only a few ways to.
So cool.
You either have to be independently wealthy and have someone to
Yes.
pay for it, or go to the military, or go to high school in Oak Ridge.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. And really good magnet schools, and
Yes.
we've been pretty pleased with the schools here.
Awesome. Okay, well, how can people find you if they want to work with Best Choice, if they have questions for you? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Call or text 865-224-6378. You can also find us on Facebook, Best Choice Inspections, or our website. It's bcinspections.info, and we're in the middle of a big overhaul of the website.
Which it looks great, by the way.
It's going to look really different in 2 weeks when I finish sending the developer the thing she asked for. But that's my fault. We're working on that.
But we do primarily home inspections, but we also do a lot of other types of things too. We do mold inspections, indoor air quality testing, things like that. We also do sewer scopes, so we can look at your underground sewer pipes.
Which I didn't know y'all did that, by the way.
It's a newer service that we.
Yeah, well, I've had recently people ask for that. Anyways, yeah.
So now you know we do
now
it.
I know.
And we discount it with the home inspection.
Yeah.
I'm also a certified stucco inspector, so if you have stucco or buying a stucco house, it's a good idea to have it inspected.
And that's because of moisture locally, right? Like a lot of
Yes.
people, when I say stucco, like not great. Get it inspected. It's because of moisture.
So yeah. Right? So if the stucco is installed properly, or there are some maintenance issues, water can get behind the stucco, and as long as you catch it before it becomes a big issue, it doesn't cause a big issue. But because it creates a seal on the outside of the house to keep the water out, if the water gets in, it can't get out, and so it can build up and cause damage to the structure behind the stucco, and you can't visibly see it until it's a major problem. So every 4 to 5 years you should have your stucco inspected to make sure everything is maintained properly and get any repairs done.
Which, by the way, that's a good example if you have a stucco house to have that done before you list. Side note, because that way you're negating that, is this a problem? Just a side note. That's like more strategy on my part, but I'm just telling you that would be a good idea to do. Anyways,
absolutely. And stucco is fantastic for temperature control, insulation, and sound insulation. So if you're in an area that has higher noise levels, it's great. Stucco is a great covering when it's maintained.
I live off Chapman Highway. I might need a stucco on my house.
One of the last things I want to mention too is that we've started trying to promote as a service. As a home inspector, I have so much knowledge about not just how it should be installed, or if it needs to be repaired, but how to repair it, the different repair choices you can make. Recently, a friend of ours who is a great referral partner with us is with a roofing company. His business is rescue roofing, and he does roofs. His name's Jordan Perez. He's a great guy. He actually donates a lot of his proceeds, or a portion of his proceeds, to animal rescue and service animal programs and things like that. So it's really neat. But he brought up a good thing that a lot of people don't think about for home inspectors. If you're a homeowner and you're getting a big repair done, such as a roof put on, or you need some major structural work done, or things like that, hiring a home inspector, and we offer a service. It's a quote comparison service is what we call it, but we'll go in and we'll make sure the work needs to be done, give you some options on different ways it can be repaired. We'll compare the quotes for you, and if we need to, give you referrals for different professionals that can provide quotes to help you see, this appears to be a good contractor. His repair invoice is right on. It's exactly the way it needs to be repaired. And then once he's done, we'll come back and we'll make sure it was done properly.
That's cool.
And that's all that quote comparison service that you can do as a homeowner. So, as a home inspector with all that knowledge, homeowners can also take advantage of it in certain situations.
Right. That's awesome. So again, it's the idea about being informed. It's not like this is all negative, even though sometimes we want to bury our head in the sand and not address the issues. But this is really just, in general, being informed and making decisions you feel comfortable with because you're empowered with the most amount of knowledge. So, well, thank you guys so much. And obviously, send us your questions, comment anything you want us to answer, address. Again, if you want to be connected to Natalie and John, Best Choice Inspections, click the links, call the numbers, reach out to me, and have a good one.
Thank
Bye.
you.